Everything fucking hurts. Carl's been having us do weight exercises now. We've been doing this with large rocks and logs. Words cannot describe how sore my arms and legs felt afterward. Even after over 8 hours of sleep, moving is still painful. Enough of my whining, though. I'll now pick up where I left off in my last post. I thought we were shit out of luck. There were dozens of ghosts shambling towards us. We didn't have any means of defending ourselves or against escaping them. What do you mean there's no salt? I asked Carl, my tone sounding more shrill than I intended. I mean, I'm out, he replied, turning the pack upside down over his palm to confirm this. Then what the hell do we do? They're getting closer, Nick informed us. We need to come up with something fast. I'm trying, Carl told him. Both of you shut up so I can think. Carl tapped his head, trying to concentrate. Pete, hand us your crutches. Maybe we could use them to shove them back. I did as told, handing them over. Truth be told, I felt like dead weight. Carl and Nick were going to do most of the work, while all I could do was stand back. Hang on, Nick said. Do you guys see that? He pointed towards the right side of the hall from our point of view. There we saw a lever to activate the fire alarm. Good eye, Nick. Let's just hope it works. The school janitor was at the front of the horde. His smile was that of a person who was about to indulge in a favorite food that they hadn't eaten in years. I'd hate to have met this guy when he was alive, Nick said, as he and Carl were trying to shove him back along with the other spirits. Damn it, this isn't working, Carl said. Sorry about this, Pete. Before I could clarify what he meant, he wielded my crutches like a sledgehammer, then began swinging it. Holy shit, this is way easier, Carl said as it made contact with the janitor's forehead, forcing him back. Try it, Nick. He joined Carl in swinging away with what were basically my extra legs. I could only watch as my means of balance were dented to hell. They managed to keep this up long enough to reach the fire alarm lever. Nick was the one who managed to pull it. He did this just in time. If my crutches gave out, who knew what would have happened to us? Their reaction to the fire alarm wasn't what we expected. We hoped that they would react to it by covering their ears and screaming, allowing us to slip by them and into one of the rooms. Instead, they looked towards the noise, then began forming a single file line. Seeing this was bizarre, to say the least. Are they following the fire drill procedure? I asked. It definitely seems that way, Nick said. How bizarre. Well, old habits tend to die hard, Carl explained, but I wonder where they're headed. As far as we could tell, they were heading towards the wall where the door that we came out of had been. To our surprise, the wall started melting, revealing the door which swung open as the ghost approached it. As they went through it, they vanished into thin air. Realizing this might be our only chance of escape, we quickly started making our way towards it. Come on, stay open, I chanted, using the wall to help myself with hopping towards the door with Carl and Nick in front of me. Much to our dismay, it began closing. Fuck you, no you don't, Carl yelled, throwing one of my crutches, sending it sliding across the floor. Luckily, it managed to reach the door before it could close, acting as a wedge to keep it open. However, we could tell it wouldn't for long, as it was already giving under the door's weight. Almost there, Nick panted. We dove for the door as the crutch finally gave. Thankfully, we managed to make it out just by the skin of our teeth, finding ourselves back outside, landing hard on the sidewalk. How the hell did we end up here from the basement? I asked, pulling myself into a sitting position, noticing scrapes on my elbows. Looking back at the school, It showed us a building that had been abandoned years ago. To be honest, I've always found that cliche to be cheap in horror films, but after experiencing it myself, my opinion about that has changed. Fuck if I know, Carl said. Let's get the hell out of here. We may have to walk, Carl told him, and pointed to the spot where the car used to be. Oh, this is horse shit, I cursed. My crutches had to get broken for us to get out of there, and now we gotta walk. There's a lot of debris on the ground from the tornado, Nick said to me. Maybe we can find something among that you could use. A lot was an understatement. Piles of uprooted trees littered the ground, in addition to old junked cars and litter. Carl and Nick snapped off some branches, yielding some makeshift crutches. Thanks, guys. They weren't as good as my old ones. However, I could make do with them. No problem, Pete, Carl said. Shame about the car, though. Hey, wait, Nick spoke up, squinting his eyes. He climbed onto one of the discarded trees. Holy shit, he exclaimed. Guys, I see the car. Sure enough, it turned out to be sitting on a pile of trees. Despite broken headlights and windows, by some miracle it was still intact. If it still worked remained to be seen. Good eye, Nick. I'm going to see if I can get it to start. Carl ran towards his car, climbing the trees in order to get to it. His lips moved in silent prayer right before he turned the keys, powering on the vehicle and making it roar to life. Yes, he said enthusiastically, slamming his fist down onto the wheel. I knew she'd pull through. Despite it taking some maneuvering, he managed to drive the car down the pile of trees, pulling it to a stop in front of us. Watch the glass, guys. We opened the door to see bits of it covering the interior of the car. We got in after brushing them off as best as we could. Then Carl sped the hell away from the godforsaken place. That has to be the second worst experience I have ever had in school, I said. Second? What was the first? Nick inquired. It's a long story. I'll tell you about it sometime. While what we just saw in that school was indeed horrifying, however, I did have one experience in school that I considered to be worse, albeit marginally. Maybe because it's due to the fact that when it happened, I was a lot younger. I really don't feel like getting into that right now. I'll have to leave it off here since I'm getting tired. This is Pete, signing out.